Everyone was scared of Ebenezer Scrooge. He was cold-hearted and mean, especially at Christmas. So, when his nephew Fred came to visit on Christmas Eve, Scrooge frowned. "Merry Christmas!" called Fred. "Bah, humbug!" replied Scrooge. Fred didn't understand his uncle's bad mood. Scrooge's business had made him very rich, but he still wouldn't keep the office warm for his clerk or give any money to the poor. He didn't even want to celebrate Christmas with Fred. Fred left, and Scrooge went home to his cold, dark house. The house had once belonged to his business partner, Jacob Marley, who had now been dead for 7 years. Suddenly he heard a loud clank clank. Then somebody he knew appeared. It was the ghost of Jacob Marley. At first, Scrooge didn't believe it was real. Then Marley spoke. "You will be haunted by 3 spirits tonight. Listen and learn from them, or you will end up in chains like me." Scrooge went straight to bed and only woke when the clock struck 1. Dong! A bright light flashed, and a spirit appeared. "I am the ghost of Christmas past. I am here to help you," it said. The spirit led Scrooge straight through his bedroom wall to a classroom. "I went to school here," he gasped. In front of them, a young Scrooge sat alone while everybody else enjoyed the holidays. He remembered that very lonely Christmas. Then the spirit showed him another Christmas. "No more work, it's time for the Christmas party," said Mr. Fezziwig, Scrooge's first boss. Scrooge remembered how happy he was at that time, and how money wasn't the most important thing. "We don't have much time," said the spirit as a beautiful woman appeared in the snow. "You've chosen a life of greed. You don't love me anymore," she said. Scrooge begged not to see any more of that terrible Christmas as the spirit disappeared. Dong! Scrooge woke up back in his bed. He waited a while, but no spirit appeared. Then suddenly his home transformed. It was filled with Christmas treats and decorations, and a giant spirit sat by the fire. "I am the ghost of Christmas present," it said, as they were transported to Fred's house, where everybody was celebrating together. "I can't be angry at my uncle," said Fred. "It's just sad that he's missing the fun." Then the spirit led Scrooge to the house of his clerk, Bob Cratchit. The family were very poor, but happy, and they even raised a toast to Scrooge. "Merry Christmas, everyone," said Tiny Tim. Scrooge was touched at the sight of the kind little boy, but when he looked closer he saw how weak he was. "Will Tiny Tim live?" asked Scrooge. "No, not unless something changes," replied the spirit. Dong! The ghost of Christmas present disappeared, and a silent, hooded figure moved towards Scrooge. He couldn't see its face and asked, "Are you the ghost of Christmas yet to come?" The spirit did not reply, but held out a hand to a fearful Scrooge. They were transported once again, and Scrooge now stood in front of a group of businessmen. They were talking about a man who had died, but none of them missed him. Next, the spirit showed Scrooge the Cratchit family, but this Christmas everyone was quiet. "We'll never forget Tiny Tim," said Bob. Scrooge sighed with sadness. Finally, the spirit showed Scrooge the gravestone of the man who nobody cared about. Scrooge fell to the ground sobbing when he saw his own name. "Please tell me things can change," he cried. "I'm not the man I was." Suddenly, Scrooge woke up in his own bed. "It was all real," he said, wiping a tear from his eye. Scrooge ran to the window and called, "What day is it?" "It's Christmas Day," replied a boy. "I haven't missed it," laughed Scrooge. "There's still time to fix things." Scrooge was so happy. He stepped outside in his nicest clothes and asked the boy to buy the biggest turkey in the shop and take it to Bob Cratchit. Then Scrooge gave a large donation to a man collecting money for the poor. As he walked the streets, Scrooge wished everyone he met a Merry Christmas, and he smiled with joy when they wished him one too. He arrived at his nephew's house just in time to enjoy a perfect Christmas together. Scrooge even gave Bob Cratchit a pay rise and promised to help his family as much as possible. Tiny Tim got better after all, and Scrooge became like a second father to him. From that day on, Scrooge celebrated Christmas more than anyone, and so, as Tiny Tim said, "Merry Christmas, everyone."